Hello everybody, it's Angela with Happy Little Stitch Shop, and I'm here today to talk to you about teeny tiny pillows. We are currently doing a stitch along featuring Lori Holt's stitch card sets that's called Teeny Tiny Pillow Stitch Along. The reason that it's called Teeny Tiny Pillows is because you stitch these cute little cross stitches and then you turn it into these adorable little pillows. And I was asked by my customers to provide a tutorial for it. So I'm going to do my best today to show you how I made my little pillows. I'm also going to link the video link in the description box below for Lori Holt's tutorial. She does her own tutorial on how she makes her pillows. I have watched it and then I just kind of have done my own thing with making my pillows, but you should definitely check out her video and subscribe to her YouTube channel, and the link for that will be in the description below. But today I'm going to show you how I made my pillows. I've done them a little bit differently than Lori did in her video. I didn't put any felt or anything on the back. The reason for that is because I really love the fabric, and so I like to have the fabric just out there in the open so that I can enjoy it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a picture of how I make my pillows, and hopefully it'll help you make your teeny tiny pillows as we work our way through our teeny tiny pillow stitch along. So let's take a peek. This is my latest stitch. We are currently working our way in the stitch along through stitch card set A. So this little quilt block is the last stitch in stitch card set A. And so that's what I just finished stitching up. And this is how it looks. I've already gone ahead and I've given it a press with my iron. So I press from the back side and I just go over it with my iron. I don't use any starch or anything like that. I just press it with a dry iron. And now what we are going to do is you're going to take a ruler and you're going to trim this down. And what you're going to want to do is do about 3/4 of an inch outside of your stitch edge. So I'm going to put this, line this up to trim all the way around the outside. Three-fourths of an inch away from the stitch edge, all the way around the outside. And as you can see here, I've already picked out my 5-inch square. You can pick out whatever Lori Holt or fabric you want for your backing. I chose a pink one from the flea market collection for this one because I thought it would go nicely with the pink on the front of the stitch. And you're going to cut that fabric to a 5-inch square. So I've already gone ahead and done that. So I have my 5-inch square that I picked for the fabric, and I have my stitch. Now, before I do anything else, what I am going to do is I'm going to take this piece over to my sewing machine and I am going to sew a couple times right around the edge of this stitch. I'm going to do probably 2 rounds right around the edge. And the reason for that is because I do my pillows a little bit differently. I don't leave a slit in the back because, like I said before, I like to see the fabric on the back. I love fabric, and so I love to see the pretty fabrics on the back of it. So I go ahead and I stitch it closed at the bottom. So I leave an opening at the bottom to be able to put my stuffing in, and then I hand stitch it closed. So the reason that I'm going to put a stitch around this outside is because I don't want my cross stitch cloth to fray and to pull apart. So I'm going to go around a couple times to be able to have my stitches at the bottom have something to grab onto without pulling that cloth apart. So that's why I do that. And I've had good luck with it so far, so hopefully it continues to hold, but I've not had any problems with it. Now, when you stitch it closed at the bottom by hand, it will lay differently. It's not going to look like a perfect pillow. As you can tell, my sides look nice because my seams are all stitched and folded in when I turn it right side out. But the bottom, I kind of have to turn it in and then stitch it as I go. So it lays a little bit differently down here. So if you do not want to have kind of an imperfect fold or seam down there, then you should definitely do it the way that Lori Holt does it, where she leaves a cut open in the back and then she puts something over the back to cover up that slit where she stuffs her pillow. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do it this way because again, I like to have my fabric open on the back, but it will lay a little bit differently. But I'm gonna have these put in a bowl, so you're not gonna ever see the bottom seam, so I'm not too concerned about it. But that's worth noting that if this is gonna bother you, if you don't like that, then that's something worth deciding ahead of time. So I'm gonna take this over to my machine and I'm gonna go ahead and stitch around the outside a couple times and then I'll be right back. Hi guys, so I'm back from my sewing machine. I went ahead and I stitched all the way around 2 times. It was a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch. I just wanted to go, you know, just around the outside so it's not a full 1/4 of an inch stitch. And now we are ready to put it with our backing fabric. So we're gonna put right sides together onto your 5-inch square. Then I'm gonna take this over to my sewing machine. I'm gonna start down here. I'm gonna back stitch. And then I'm gonna go all the way around 1/4 of an inch over to here, and I'm gonna back stitch here. I'm gonna leave a small opening here so that I can put my stuffing in there. So again, I'm gonna back stitch here. I'm gonna go all the way around, come here, back stitch, and leave a small opening here to be able to put my stuffing in there. So head on over to your machine and do your stitch around here, and then we'll come back and we'll move on to the next step. Okay guys, so I went around and I stitched around the outside of my cross stitch pattern 1/4 of an inch. So let's take a peek and now we're ready to trim it. So I started here, actually started over here when I went through the sewing machine, but I went back and forth, went all the way around, did a back stitch here so that I have an opening here to do the stuffing. Next step is we are going to trim this excess fabric around the outside because we don't want all of that inside of our pillow. So just go around and get rid of the extra stuff all around the outside. Okay, now we have our opening here, and now what you're going to want to do is very gently, because you don't want to rip any of that stitching out, and you don't want to hurt your cross stitch, and that cross stitch fabric can be, you know how it is when you're working with that. It can fray easily and pull apart easily in your hands. So try to very gently, that's why I left my opening at the bottom a little bit bigger this time. In the past, I've left it pretty small in order to save me from too much hand stitching, and then it's caused my stitch to rip a little bit. So I'm trying not to do that this time. So this time I left a bigger opening to be able to turn this right side out. So you're just gonna work this out. I don't use any particular tool. I just try to very gently push those corners out as much as I possibly can, just by kind of working it around with my finger. I have in the past used the rounded side of the point-to-point turner, but that can be dangerous to do. So I don't know if I would recommend that necessarily, because you don't want to poke a hole through. So you're just gonna kind of work it and shape it until it looks the way you want in your corners. Like that one's a little flat, so I'm gonna poke that one out a little bit more. Just kind of work it around and shape it how you want. Try to get those corners as much, you know, as pointed out as possible. And then grab your stuffing and we're gonna start stuffing next. Okay guys, so we have now shaped our pillow and now we are ready to stuff it. Now, you're gonna ask where I got this stuffing from. I had a bunch of old couch pillows, throw pillows, that I was tossing. They weren't pillow forms, but they were just pillows that had been stuffed. I didn't want this to throw out the stuffing with it, so I ripped all of those pillows open and I took all the stuffing out, and I have garbage bags full of stuffing to reuse. And when these pillows came along and I fell in love with making them, I'm so happy that I have this stuffing now, because I can just use this stuffing that I'm reusing from other pillows and stuff these pillows instead of having to go out to buy other stuffing. But if you are not as fortunate to have old grubby pillows as I did and had to throw them away and take the stuffing out, you can always go and find stuffing at Walmart or Target or Joann's or someplace like that. So now we're gonna start stuffing our pillow. And you would be surprised at how much stuffing it takes. And again, you are gonna wanna be very careful when doing this because you don't want to rip your seams over there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to shove this up into the corners as much as possible. And I'm kind of fluffing the stuffing as I pull it away from the other stuffing. But you're just gonna work it in there nice and easy and kind of put it up in the corners as much as you can and up toward the top, and then we're gonna work our way down. And sometimes I try to shove some over in these corners over here and some over here. But you will be surprised at how much stuffing these little pillows take in order to fluff them up. And some of my other pillows that I made, I don't think that I put enough stuffing in. So this one I'm gonna try to be sure to really get enough in there because you want your pillows to be nice and plump and not flat. Hold a nice shape. But it always surprises me how much goes into making these pillows, how much stuffing goes in there. And you guys, these little cross stitch patterns, these little stitch cards are so addicting. You can finish them in no time at all. Like you could sit down and just do it in a few hours. It does not take long at all to stitch these little cuties up. And then you've got these fun little decorative pillows to set around or to put in a bowl, or you can pick out the ones that are seasonal and just display those or display them all at one time. They're super cute and it's just a quick finish, so it's very, very satisfying. Okay, I feel like I have enough, maybe, which means I'm probably gonna add just a little bit more. I feel like this corner up here is not. So I'm gonna try to really work some of that stuffing up into those corners if I can. There, that's better. And then I'm gonna shove a little bit more in down here. And probably a little bit more in this other corner. And you can see I'm gonna have to kind of fold that over, and that's how I'm gonna stitch it, is right there. And then that'll be my bottom. But remember, like I said at the beginning, because I'm hand stitching this, it is going to lay differently than the rest of the seams that have been turned out. So I'm just making sure I have enough stuffing in there before I start to sew it closed. Okay, I think that's probably good enough. So now I have a needle and thread here. I already have my needle threaded and I already have it knotted. So now, this is the tricky part, guys, because you want to try to make it look as nice as you can, but I'm gonna grab, you know, some of both, and I'm just gonna close this opening. And then at the end, I will cut that thread off. And just go along and close that hole. Okay, and then I have to cut some of those threads off down there, and I'm gonna knot it, so you knot it, but that is the pillow. And I'm gonna check this, I might have to go back over, and you can see the stitching on the bottom. Again, I'm gonna display these in a bowl, so I'm not terribly concerned about that. But I love to be able to see the top, and the stitching is nice and it looks full enough. I've put enough stuffing in it, and I love to be able to see the beautiful fabric on the back. However, I might venture out and use some of her lace in the future. I don't know, but right now I really like to enjoy the fabric on the back. But check to make sure you don't have any holes. If you do, or you have anything that needs to be gone over again, then go ahead and stitch that again. And then you can kind of squish your pillow around, to get it to look the way you want. But that is essentially how you make your pillow. And let me show you, these are a couple of the other options Lori uses when she does her tutorials. She has used lace on the back. She's used felt on the back. So again, she leaves an opening in the back, and then she covers that. She stitches that opening closed, and then she covers it with lace or felt. So I will link both of these. We have these in the shop. I'll link both of these below. She also sometimes uses cute little safety pins, and she decorates her pillows with buttons. So I will link these below as well. I, so far, have left all of my pillows plain, just like this. And I kind of like it like that. So I hope this helps you make your teeny tiny pillows, and hopefully you will come on this teeny tiny pillow journey with me, because they are so fun to make. The stitches are super fast, super satisfying. They're super cute and really, really fun to make. And then you just turn it into this cute little pillow to decorate your home with. So thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Happy Little Stitch Shop. And please go to happylittlestitchshop.com for all of your stitching and quilting goodies. And thank you so much for joining me today. Have a happy, happy day. Happy stitching, everybody. Take care.